It was 100% hike because I was able to grab multiple offers during my second
Okay.
job search. We support the various business teams of Ford. AI can't do what a human being can do at least in the next 10 years.
Folks, I had an insightful discussion with Raghavan today, who transitioned from a mechanical engineer to fine data analyst at Ford. I asked him questions to break down his success path, and he gave some interesting hacks that you can use for resume preparation, interviews, and all those things. He also gave a sneak peek about his work life at Ford, and he talked about his salary hike percentage, the tools that he uses at Ford for the projects, and he also gave his perspective about this artificial intelligence wave, that is, how it can risk or not risk the life of a data analyst. So if you are an aspirant or a data analyst fresher, I recommend to watch this video completely. There are a lot of insights in this video, and let me open the gateway for you now. So Raghavan, welcome to the talk, and really glad to have you here.
Thanks, Simon. Thanks for having me here also.
Okay, so Raghavan, you transitioned from a mechanical engineer, and now you are working in a reputed company. You are working at Ford, right? So
Yes.
I want to know for the audience, like, where did it all started, and tell me until the point where you realize that, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to become a data analyst.
Yeah. So my data analytics journey started back in 2021 while I was doing my master's in mechanical from IIIT Chennai. So during the last semester, I was like exploring all the other opportunities because due to COVID, there was a lot of restrictions in the mechanical industry and I couldn't see my future there as well.
Okay.
So I started exploring all the other career opportunities, especially in the IT domain where there were more opportunities. And after exploring, I finally found that data analytics was something which aligned with my skill sets. And also, I was confident enough that I felt like I will be able to do the best for that role. So
Okay.
that's the reason how I ended up in data analytics.
Okay. So, how much time you spent in mechanical engineering? Like, did you work in any company or something like that?
No, I started my UG in 2014 to 2018. Then I took a break for preparation for GATE,
Okay.
and I did my post graduation also in mechanical engineering. So roughly 7 years I have spent in the mechanical engineering field. But I started my career as a data analyst. So
Okay,
that's
that's
a
great.
twist.
That's great.
Yeah.
So I just have a follow-up question. Did you have did you have this dilemma after spending 7 years, right? Normally what people will think, like, no, I've spent 7 years, now I cannot get out of this. I need to find a job within this thing. Did you have thoughts like that?
It was there a little bit, I would say, because I have spent almost 7 years and I had invested some amount for preparation of gate and all. But then at the end of the day, if I don't see myself doing the best out of that role, then there's no point in doing that. The reason for choosing MTech was different when I started gate preparation. But as times change, we have to adapt for that as well. So I felt like this role is something where I will be able to do my best. And looking back, now I feel that I've done the best decision for myself.
Okay. So you talked about investment. So now, Raghavan, tell me. So you spent 7 years, in mechanical engineering. Right now, you want to shift to data analytics, right? This is like the
Yeah.
trending job and all those things, and you found you had some skills there. So tell me, how much money did you invest in the preparation to become a data analyst?
Okay. Most of my preparation involved using free courses in the internet itself. The best part about my transition was that I was able to connect the dots between the different resources which I was consuming.
Okay.
So maybe a little courses here and there I would have paid. So I would, including all this internet and everything, I would say less than 5,000 for my
Okay.
transition.
That is very economical. That is really economical.
Yes, yes, yes.
So you can you talk about the free courses that you did, and very interesting point you raised is you made connections between the courses. Like, you did a
Yeah,
course A and you did a course B, and you were able to
yeah.
connect them to your job. How did you do
Yeah.
that?
So as far as the courses is concerned, I would say everything started with the Code Basic Sales Insights project, which is very famous on YouTube as well. Thanks to you and Dhaval Patel for making that series, and I'm very glad that Code Basics has come to this point. So coming back to that topic, that was my first course, and it generated some curiosity in me, where it is more like a business application like Excel or PowerPoint. It's not like a pure technical application. So that initial hindrance which people will have when they make into a technical role, that was reduced because of this tool. So that's where I started, and then I started learning SQL, then I started learning Excel, and started building portfolio and so on. So the next thing was the ability to connect the dots. This is something which I feel that I was able to do because whenever I try to learn something, I try to see how can we apply that somewhere. So when I was learning something, I used to take notes. For SQL, I still have my notes. If I'm going to prepare for an interview, I'll go refer to my SQL notes. For Power BI, during the preparation for PL 300 examination, I had maintained the notes. This is something I don't think people these days do much because of the online thing. But I have notes for my SQL, I have my notes for my Power BI, and even for Excel also I have my notes. And going forward, if I'm learning something new also, I prefer to have the notes, because what happens is when we write that, it stays in our mind, and we are able to, like, next time when we watch some other video which is relevant to the same topic, it
Okay.
easily our brain builds the connection there.
Okay. So you made a connection between Power BI, SQL, and Excel, right?
Yeah.
So you told about your Power BI resource, which is the Sales Insights Power BI project from Code Basics.
Yeah.
So after that, did you take any other course for SQL or Excel, or where did you learn your SQL and Excel?
So for SQL, I followed Alex the Analyst YouTube channel, Data Science 365,
Okay.
and Khan Academy have a good course for
Okay.
SQL.
Yeah.
And yeah, those are the three major things which I used.
Okay. And how about Excel? Where did you learn your Excel?
Excel, there is a Tamil channel called Endless Knowledge. So in that channel, it was due to that local language, I was easily
Okay.
able to grasp the concepts.
Okay. Perfect. Great. Great. So now, Raghavan, you were starting to prepare, and you would have started applying for jobs, right?
Yeah.
So there are many people in the transition who are applying for jobs and they are not getting the interview, and there
Yeah.
are few people who are getting the interview. What do you think is
Yeah.
the difference between these two set of people?
So first thing, if we really need to like have that drive to apply, so that thing should be there. Most of them do have, but the how we are going to apply, that also matters, not just having the drive. So one thing which I made sure was, which I could clearly see, was having a project portfolio.
Yes.
And these days, not just a project portfolio, a good project portfolio. Because 2 years back when I started applying, not everyone had a portfolio. So if someone has a portfolio, by default they get to stand out among the competition.
Okay.
But in today's world, we need to have a good portfolio, and that's where I appreciate Code Basics for that resume challenge which you have been handling. So it gives the people an opportunity to showcase their work, because at the end of the day, as a data analyst, I have to communicate my results to the
Yes.
business user,
Okay.
and that thing you are showing through that, right? So having a portfolio, a good resume, and a very differentiating factor for me was a very good optimized LinkedIn profile.
Okay. Yes, I can see that you are just there in LinkedIn, right? You're doing great things.
Yeah.
So I think if I have to summarize my understanding based on what you say, we just have to find the differentiating factor there. What is the differentiating
Yes.
factor, and do that. So in your
Yes.
time, 2 years back, it was a project portfolio. Just a project
Yes.
portfolio was a differentiating factor. But in
Yes.
today's time, a good project portfolio. And of course, there are
Yes.
resources. We are also providing resources for that. So people
Yeah.
just, when you're saying this, please make sure that you have a project portfolio in your resume. Without that, even I don't think I would even consider that resume. That's true.
Yes.
Okay, so okay, that's there. I want to explore the psychological aspect of that interview, getting an interview. Um, Raghavan, did you had like rejections? You are applying for jobs and you didn't get an interview call. You had a situation like that, and if you had,
Of,
so
of
how did
course.
you handle it?
Yeah, so I did have that problem, both during my first job sir, and even during my latest job switch. So when I was first applying, initially I was not, even before choosing data analytics as a final year student, I was applying very randomly, and I was not getting any interview calls. I'll get only the unfortunately your profile was not shortlisted email, the typical email which everyone gets. So I had a good set of friends with whom I'll keep like regularly interact, and they were like already working since 2018, since their UG. So they used to give me some tips and how this job search, like I feel like job search itself is an experience which everyone needs to go through at least once in their life, which will kind of help us. So for me, I had a good set of friends, and I didn't have another way. Like I had to get a job. My personal situation was also in such a way that I had to get a job.
So,
So that
Raghavan,
gave me the motivation.
yes, thank you. I agree with you, right? Many people who are applying for jobs, they are in the same situation. They are very desperate and they really need a job. But I want to know better, what are the tangible things that you did on your resume,
Yeah.
that you did something that make you stood out? Like, can you just list some hacks, some points that people can follow?
Yeah. So obviously, the first thing was having a portfolio. I had at least three projects per each tool for SQL, Power BI, Excel. For each project, I had three. I mean, each tool I had three projects.
Okay.
Then to bring all those individual, for example, Power BI projects, I used to host it on
Yes.
Novi Pro,
Yes.
SQL on GitHub, Excel on GitHub. So to
Yes.
bring them at a single place so that a hiring manager can easily look it, I used a tool called Linktree, which will help
Okay.
us create a one page website
Linktree.
kind of a thing.
That's Linktree,
Linktree.
correct? Yes. Yes.
Linktree, yeah. We can place all the URLs there in the buttons and customize that page and
Mhm.
use that Linktree link as our resume, as our portfolio link, and put it in our LinkedIn as well as our resume. And
Okay.
also in my LinkedIn page also, I used to optimize and start writing content also.
Okay.
My content journey started back then, uh,
Okay.
during that time while was searching my job, and I knew that I also started following very people who are posting about the data analytics job market.
Okay.
Some of them I could mention, like Sanjay, Dhaval Patel. All
Yes.
these people were posting about those content, and
Yes.
that gave me the inspiration and the direction which was required to get into
Great,
this role.
great. So you did two things. One is about to have a customized, link tree where you put all your project portfolio links there. So, and you had your LinkedIn profile like your gateway, so people can enter
Exactly.
and see your profile. So that's online credibility. So we have been telling a lot
Exactly.
about online credibility, why it is important, and your journey seems like an example to that. It's just a testimony to that,
Yes.
where you have showed your LinkedIn profile to get a job. All right. So I mean, it's more about getting an interview, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the most important thing. After going for interview, I think most people crack it. I think between the job application and getting the interview is
Yes,
kind of
that
the
is where
difficult
the
part.
major filtering happens. Once we
Okay.
get into the interview, we can. The main differentiating factor of having a portfolio is it
Yeah.
makes our job easier in the interview to explain about our projects. For
Exactly.
someone who has doesn't have a portfolio, he won't able to just share the screen and show what he has done. But
Yes.
I'll just open the screen. I'll show this is the approach I made,
Yeah.
and that will give more credibility for the
Yeah.
person who's going to hire me.
So now tell me. So you have reached. Let's say you got your first interview, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell about that first experience? Like, because you are coming from a non-technical background, you don't know what questions
Yes.
people are going to ask. You might think that they might
Yes.
ask some coding. No, there is a lot of myth, right? Oh,
Yes.
it's going to be different. But you tell me, how was your first interview experience?
Yeah, so my first interview, it was like I had to go with the confidence. There was no other go, because if I had felt that way, I would have become more self-conscious, and the chances of making
Exactly.
mistakes are higher. So
Exactly.
I had that raw confidence in me. Even if I make a mistake, it's fine. It's not like the end of the day. And if not this interview, there is another interview at the end of the day. But the thing is, what we learn from that interview, like
Yes.
if we make a wrong answer, we can't answer that question, immediately I'll go and look after the interview what does that topic mean, and
Okay.
if there are any allied topics, Google will give some suggestions. I'll go and learn them as well, so that in the next interview, if something similar comes up, get that covered.
That's interesting. So you created a feedback loop for yourself. You use the interview
Yes.
not as a place to get a job directly. You use that as a place to develop your skills. Because based on what people
Exactly.
ask, you get an understanding of the market, what is the market requirement, and you were upskilling towards that market requirement. That is really a practical and brilliant approach. I think a lot of people might find this useful. Great. Okay. So now, great. You've got the job. You've got your first job, and so
Yeah.
you are a data analyst in your first job, correct?
Yes. I work mainly as a Power BI developer for the
As a
first
Power
one
BI
and a half
developer.
years.
And
Yeah.
maybe 1 year back, I started seeing you posted a lot of stuff, like a lot of
Yeah.
interesting stuff for people. You started influencing people in the right way. You started sharing your
Yeah.
journey, and that was really amazing. So, in your first job, you are a Power BI developer. So now you are a data analyst at Ford, right? This is one of the
Yeah.
reputed companies in India and in the world. And tell me a little bit about your daily life in Ford as a data analyst.
Yeah. So, as a data analyst, we as a global data insights and analytics team, we support the various business teams of Ford. So, every time a business team of Ford has some kind of a problem, as in if their sales is going down or if their lead times are increasing, some kind of business problem they'll be facing. So, to serve those business problems, they'll reach out to this analytics team. So the analytics team, what we will do is we'll identify the relevant data sources which will be required to solve that problem from a data repository, do
Okay.
all the necessary transformations, and build the visualizations or dashboard, or even in some cases, other teams are working on predictive analytics based
Got
solutions
it.
as well.
Got it. Got it.
At the
So,
end of the day, we try to add value to the business, either to help them increase the revenue or cut the costs so that it increases the profit anyway.
okay. So, Raghavan, when you started, your journey, right? I see what you're doing on your daily business. It involves a lot of things. And when you started your journey as a data analyst person, you might have thought a lot of technical knowledge would have been required for you. A lot of
Yeah.
technical knowledge. And working into Ford now, how do you relate that? Do you see that your thought initially and your thought currently? What is the major difference between?
As far as the technical learning is concerned, I'll say it's a very continuous learning. It
Yeah.
doesn't stop. Like after getting my first job, that's when I started working even more harder because
Yeah.
I was thrown into a situation where I have to learn so that I can deliver. And that's how it has been going till date. So if I
Okay.
compare myself 2 years back, I would say like I have learned so much in the last 2 years compared to what I tried to get in my first job.
Yes.
I would say like in the first job, we'll just focus only on the specific tools like SQL, Excel, how to use them. But when it comes to a job, how to interact with the database,
Yes.
how to get connections, how to have these drivers, all
Great.
those other allied areas, and also the engagement with the stakeholders. These are some things which are new.
Okay, great. So you have done a lot of continuous learning in the last 2 years and constantly upgrading yourself, which is the best way to stay in the market, stay relevant to the market. Because
Yes.
it is not like those old days when you just complete a degree and you just retire at 58 with the same degree, same qualification.
Yeah.
It was good. That was working
Yeah.
for our for our dad generation, mom generation, but not
Yes.
now. And and tell me, like, let's say that there is a similar person like you who completed computer science, right? Who
Okay.
did a computer science degree and who did a master's in computer science, and working at food, same data analyst role, and now you don't have any technical background, like no computer science, no coding. Does it affect your
Yeah.
job? Does it impact your job in any way?
Uh, I would say like not much, but they have one advantage over me, as
Okay,
in they'll know how an application is built, how an
okay.
application, what is the architecture behind an application, the server part, the database part, all those things, all those knowledge they already have because they have studied that
Mhm.
during their academia. But
Mhm.
when it comes to me, I try to learn it on the go. So
Okay,
what happens is I learn whatever is relevant to my job. What is my problem statement? I'll
okay.
make sure I'll go deep and whatever is required that is there. So indirectly, I am learning a lot of computer science while working as a data
Yes.
analyst.
Yes, that is something very well said. So you are more like a problem solver. In order to solve the problem, whatever is required, you will learn that. I had exactly
Yes.
the same thought. Like I was also a demand planning analyst to start with, and then I built a data analytics team and all those things. But during this transition, there are a lot of people who had a computer science degree, who had a IT degree, IT certifications, SAP, this, that, and everything. They had a advantage over me because they know the architecture, they know the systems.
Yes.
I didn't know the
Exactly.
systems and architecture. I use brute force. Whenever I want to learn
Yeah.
something, I just went and Googled and I found it and I did it. In a surprising way, I outperformed them in most of
Yeah.
the cases. It's because like
Yeah.
I know that my I need to learn every day. They had
Yeah.
a kind of a settled mindset where they thought like, okay, they have done a degree, they don't have to learn every day. I think that could be the differentiator. That's how you
True.
can
True.
negate that difference for people who are doing
When
a career
you
transition.
mentioned about Google, I remember Dhaval Patel mentioning in his videos, Google is your best friend. I
Yes.
took that seriously in the last 2 years. Like any problem, I'll know. Now today with ChatGPT and all, if we are
Yeah.
able to phrase our question in the right manner, give the right prompt either to Google or ChatGPT or whatever tool, we will be able to figure out a solution for whatever problem we are facing.
Exactly, Raghavan. Now we added. So last month we did a course where we said that it's not just Mr. G. It's going to be Mr. G and Mr. C. Now it's going to be Mr. G, Mr. C, and Mr. B. Like there are
Yeah.
like a lot of new friends, right? And
Yes.
you
Yes.
can always make good friends with them. And I'm more efficient by just using these tools. A lot of data analysts I know, including you, use internet as a second brain, right? Rather than
True.
trying to memorize everything, right? The brain is
Yeah.
there, just go and access it, but you just have to
Yeah.
find the non-neural pathways to
Yeah.
access it faster. That makes a difference.
That
Okay.
nuances, I think it comes with experience. Once we start trying at the beginning, we may stumble a little. Like if we
Yeah.
are trying to find a solution at the first time, it may take half an hour or 1 hour. But
Yeah.
now it takes less than 10 minutes to find the right resource for my problem.
Okay. So Raghavan, I might ask you an uncomfortable question now. So you tell me that people, everyone wants to make money, right? That's a part of the thing. And when you started from a non-technical background, you got a job. Let's say your salary was 100, like you were
Yeah.
getting 100 rupees. And after your second job, how much was the raise? Like, what is the percentage of difference in your salary?
I would say it was 100% hike because I was able to grab multiple offers during my second
Okay.
job search,
Okay.
and that gave me a good negotiating power to get that
Okay.
100% hike.
That is interesting. So when you went for your second round of getting jobs, uh, did you upgrade yourself in some way? Like in your first job search, of course, like you found that this is the best way to show the portfolio. These are the tools to use. In the second round, what are the upgrades that you did to your job search?
Yeah, there were a lot of upgrades. To be specific, one was having a certification.
Okay.
Because at the beginning of my job search, having a certification was difficult because technically I was not that sound. But
Okay.
after working in Power BI for almost 1 year, I got the certification. So that is one thing. Along with that, I
Can I
got some
stop you
other
there? Sorry, Raghavan, can you tell me what certification is that?
PL 300
Okay.
certification for Microsoft
PL300. Okay.
Power BI.
Folks, for some of you who don't understand what is PL300, it is a certificate provided by Microsoft. It is a certificate that Microsoft says that this guy is a data analyst and
Yes.
certified by Microsoft. It is quite valid, especially in the conditions where Raghavan mentioned, because again, it's from Microsoft itself. A lot of companies use Microsoft, so it is very much valid. And so Raghavan, does it cost around 5,000 for the certification? I guess if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, including tax, it will cost around 5,600.
Yes.
Fortunately, my company reimbursed that because I
Okay.
was a working professional.
Okay, yeah. So I did the same. Like I did the Microsoft certification as well. Not for job search, but just to have that certification. It really gave some credibility to
Yeah,
people who see me as a data analyst and certified by Microsoft. That really gives some
yeah,
credibility. And this, you have to be really careful, folks who are watching this. Don't go for any certification. Not all the certifications are valid, right? Like people just sell certificates just to make you feel like, oh, you are getting the certificate. It is valid. Nothing. It's not like that. I would recommend Microsoft certification once you have done few months of work and then you do the certification. Okay, that's
yeah.
that's one major upgrade. Raghavan, please continue. What are the other upgrades that you did?
I started building online credibility through LinkedIn. I started actively writing since August of 2022, where
Okay,
I started sharing whatever resources I had used to upskill myself. So that was one content. The other content I would use to write was related to Power BI, whatever learnings I'm getting,
okay,
those kinds of content, because I had a knack of writing content. So
okay,
I why not leverage that? So I started writing actively, and
okay.
people started liking my work, and I was able to build a good community as well. That was one thing. And I had to fine tune my portfolio. The first portfolio which I had and the one which I have now, it has undergone at least 15 to 20 iterations. with even in the projects level also, I
Yeah.
had done some tweaks and reworked a few areas so
Yes.
that it looks more professional, because
Yes.
I now know what is there in the real world. So I
Okay.
had to tweak those projects to showcase the real world scenarios, match it as much as possible.
Okay. That is great. I understand. How online credibility can impact your job search in a positive way. But for people watching this, can you tell like what are the tangible impacts that you had by building your online credibility? Of course, yes, you're writing good, you're getting more engagement from people. But how did it impact your job search and your negotiation while you're looking for the job?
Some of the hiring managers, they actually went through my profile and appreciated that during the interviews.
Yes.
So that was one thing.
Mhm.
The second thing was it made my job easier in the interviews where I can simply share my. For example, in my Ford interview, my final interview, it was a presentation round where I had to showcase a project.
Yes.
So I already had projects at my hand.
Yes.
Imagine someone who didn't have a portfolio, he would have had to sit, work on a project, prepare a presentation, and go for the interview. I had everything already. I just needed to prepare a 6 slide presentation and show it to the interview. So that way, it made my job very easier when I was in the interview stage.
Okay. So talking about the interview projects, Raghavan, like what projects they were asking? Like, what kind of projects they were asking you to present and what you did?
At Ford, they asked me any project related to dashboard building because I was
Okay.
hired for that
Okay.
process. And though Ford doesn't use Power BI, they still were fine with my whatever skill sets which I'm bringing into the table. So I showed, I think it was the Qlik sales project only. It was my first project which
Oh,
I had
that
reworked again. Yeah,
is amazing.
it
That's
was.
great to know.
I think it's the yeah, sorry, it's the hospitality dashboard,
The resume
which
project challenge. Yeah.
yes, yes. At like hospitality challenge
Yeah.
project, which I had done, and I had participated in that challenge and
Yes.
posted it on LinkedIn as well. I
Okay.
did some fine tunes and presented that in the interview. And
That is
after 1 hour after completing the interview, I got the result that I got selected. So it
wow.
was so quick.
That was great. That was great. So, folks who are wondering still, where do I get projects? Go to codebasics.io, resume projects. And the project which Raghavan is mentioning is the hospitality project challenge. I think it's project challenge number 3. And we also made a guided video with an expert from Oyo Hotels, and it's very clear out there. So you can use projects like that and explain that to your hiring manager. That will really get them impressed because this is real business project. This is not like some toy data set
Yeah,
project like Titanic. The hiring manager doesn't care like whether how many people survive in Titanic thing. What he cares is like how can you improve the revenue, market share, profit. That's the projects that we are talking about. That's great, Raghavan. Like I got a good hang of how that interview could have got. They might have asked you questions about revenue, profits, and market
exactly. They
share.
were like
Yeah.
asking questions, why this has happened,
Yes.
what contributed to this. That kind of questions they were analyzing whether I was able to think and answer. Because at the real world, that kind of questions are what I am facing from the business team after joining Ford as well.
Fantastic. So, Raghavan, like you joined Ford now, right? Like you were working in Power BI before, correct? Like in your previous company.
Yes, yes.
Do you work? And you said in Ford they don't use Power BI.
Yeah.
So, what tool they're using now? And was it difficult for you to adopt to the new tool?
So in at Ford they are using Alteryx and ClickSense. Alteryx for the data transformation and ClickSense for the dashboarding. So
Yes.
earlier I used to have Power BI, which both that did both. Power Query was used for transformation, and we had Power Pivot and Power View to do our
Mhm.
dashboarding, and Power BI service for deployment.
Okay.
So it was a bit of a challenge to adapt to the new tool.
Mhm.
There was some challenge, but at the end of the day, I started thinking at a high level. Like I am going to build a dashboard.
Hmm.
The features might be a bit different. If we
Yes.
have a visualization pane on top in Power BI or at the side, here it could be on the left. So I
Yes.
was able to draw those parallels, and then limitations were also there. That was the major thing. So Power BI's capabilities, some might not be there in ClickSense. Some
Yes.
capabilities of ClickSense won't be there in Power BI. I
Okay.
had to identify that because at the
Okay.
advanced level, I have to know that, right? So
Exactly.
that was something. Yeah.
Exactly. So, can I compare this to driving a car? You know how to drive a car, and
Yeah.
you used to drive a manual car, and then you went to an automatic one. It's not going to be the same. The buttons, the
Yeah.
functionalities are different. So you need to identify, get adopt to it. Is it correct, my comparison on that?
Yeah, it's perfect. It may take a month or two at max to make the transition, and now I'm feeling comfortable with these
Okay.
tools here.
So during this transition time, right? Like, of course, your they hired you knowing that you worked in Power BI. So they must know that it is not going to take a lot of time for you to adopt to that. Correct?
Yes.
During this 2 months transition time, was there any pressure on you to learn it faster? Oh, you need to do this now. Well, I just want to give a reflection of what happens in the office. So people don't get feared. Like they learn a tool, they learn Tableau, and they now learning Power BI. They think like, no, I can get job only in Tableau. Do they need to fear about that?
Nothing like that. It depends on the organization.
Mhm.
Here in my team, I did feel some pressure at the earlier point. Like there were some transitions happening within the org as well.
Okay.
So because of that, we had to ramp up as much as possible to get accustomed to it. But did I did have a good supportive management, so they did give me some time to adapt, and that's there. That is something which you can request, and yeah, that transition period, a month or two, will you need to do that, put that extra hours to get adapted. Once it's done and dusted, it's like getting the life gets easier.
Okay, as an audience watching this, they might have a question. What is the key differences between Power BI, ClickSense? What are the differences? And Alteryx, what are the differences there?
Okay, so for Power BI, it's a free desktop tool. For ClickSense, I don't think we can have this free version. When it comes to Alteryx, so you'll be using Power Query for doing the transformation. So in
Yes.
Power Query, you will have the properties pane on the right, whatever steps we are applying, the tables on the left, and the center part you'll have what is the actual data in that. But in Alteryx, the UI is totally different. You will have the tools at the top. You'll drag and drop them in the canvas
Okay.
where you'll build a workflow. The configuration for each tool will be on the left, and the data, whatever transformation is happening, it will be in the bottom.
Yeah.
So we need to understand that difference, and we need to like that. That is some time it will take for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So regarding the capabilities, I mean, like I've used Power BI and Alteryx both. I use Power BI more, Power Query more, and I'm very fluent with Power Query, right? And tell me, like, what are the differences like between Alteryx and Power Query in data transformation? I know Alteryx gives this beautiful diagram view and all those things. You can follow the steps very easily. That is also there in Power BI service. What are the other key differences that Alteryx has than Power Query?
The Alteryx engine is a bit more efficient compared to Power Query.
Okay.
Power Query, I don't feel it will be very good for very high workloads,
Mhm.
but Alteryx is pretty good for that.
Okay.
Other than that, Power Query is a bit intuitive compared to Alteryx, in a sense that for people who are in the Microsoft environment, who
Mhm.
has worked with Excel, who has worked with Power BI, Power Query is something very intuitive. You'll easily like locate that button, and you'll quickly understand what function that tool is going to do. But
Yes.
for Alteryx, I had to know what is the capability of each tool. That
Okay.
took some time to understand. That
Okay.
is the major difference, and the licensing as well. Alteryx is a bit costly, and it has only 14-day free trial. But for
Got
Power
it.
BI, it
Got it.
comes free.
So Power BI is more affordable for organizations, and that's why we see that Power BI adoption is very high. Like a lot of
Exactly.
organizations use Power BI because it's very easy, right? They use Excel, they use Power BI. What's the difference? They pay a little bit more fee and get the Power BI.
And
Okay.
Microsoft has been doing a lot with all the release of this Fabric in the
Yes.
latest week.
Fabric
They
and
are like,
Copilot. Yes.
it's exciting the way Microsoft has been working on the BI space.
Yes. So you started a topic now, Raghavan. Like this Fabric is coming up. Copilot is there. ChatGPT. Copilot is like ChatGPT plus Power BI is the Copilot. And what do you think about this new AI wave? Does it impact your work as a data analyst? How do you see that?
I did have that fear when this ChatGPT was launched and everyone was saying it's going to replace humans and so on and so forth. But later I realized AI can't do what a human being can do, at least in the next 10 years.
Okay.
But it can be a good personal assistant. So
Ah,
I started looking it the other way. I started looking AI as my personal assistant. So if I have any query, I can simply use the right prompts and efficiently get, like, it helps a lot. I have seen some of my friends, people in my workplace, who leverage ChatGPT to solve this. Like if you have some Alteryx workflow, If you want to convert that into a SQL query, ChatGPT is doing that. I understood that last week after talking to a colleague.
Yes, that is true. Like you can become an AI-enabled data analyst, the data analyst 2.0. That's exactly what we are building for. And so you said that AI cannot do exactly what humans are doing, right? So right now, I understand what you mean. But for people who have not worked, who are freshers, can you tell them like what are the kind of work that you do as a human, which AI cannot do at the moment? Can you just give 2 or 3 examples?
Yeah, when it comes to repetitive tasks, AI can do anything. But anything that involves thinking, like a human perspective, in real world problems, we as humans will have some intuitions. Okay, this product is going to sell. This market will be a right fit. These kind of intuitions, even sometimes data won't be able to provide because those are qualitative in nature.
Yes,
Anything is quantitative in nature that can only be handled by a computer,
that
but
is
anything which is respect to qualitative nature, which it can't be done by AI. And it, if a task is repetitive, in that case it will be able to generate. But
yes,
if it's going to be very unique or very novel, yeah, we are seeing some kind of things like Dolly, which is able to build AI generated images, but still it is drawn based on some inspiration.
yes,
So there is no uniqueness towards what has been built coming from AI. So that's something as which I see as a difference. But at least for the next 20 years, I feel that AI will be a good personal assistant.
yeah. I feel that that is going to be forever the case because I don't think the creation can supersede the creator. So I don't
Yeah,
think that is
true,
philosophically speaking that is not possible. And so I can also I also want to give one example. What I felt is that when I give some insights to my people, right? So you basically don't give insights just because that's what the data tells. You also understand the person. You also understand the decision making capability of the person. What is this person will like? What kind of decisions this person would like to take? You optimize that as a human, and you give that
true.
decisions. You give that suggestions, right?
Yeah,
It's not like let's say you want 5 things to implement. You understand, you by looking at your boss, you understand this particular day, okay, if I tell all these 5 things, you won't be happy. Maybe I'll tell him one thing now, the most important thing now. And after he implemented this, I've implemented many things in my work like that. Like I will not implement a lot of things at once. I have that decision making skill based on that particular scenario, that particular dynamic, and did things. So yeah, you're right, it's AI is very far. So great. I think Raghavan, that was really great talk with you, and we have reached almost to the end of the session. Would you want to I would like you to give some not I won't say advice, maybe some hacks for people who are watching this, for the younger generation who are watching this, who are going to follow your path, and a lot of mechanical engineers, civil engineers that wants to transition to data analyst. If you just have to say 3 things to them, what you will say, just out of your mind, top of your mind.
yeah. So if they want to make a successful transition, I'll say have a good project portfolio, a very good project portfolio these days. Second thing is building online credibility. Use LinkedIn to do that. Third thing is try to develop your communication skills, especially as a data analyst. It will separate you from a good data analyst and a great data analyst. That will be there if you have a good communication skills. You need to know what to say, when to say, and how to say.
That is perfect. That is well summarized. Great, great, Raghavan.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure talking to you. I myself, found few of the points that you said very refreshing to my thoughts. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for spending your time.
Yeah, thank you, Hemanand, for having me here. I did find this conversation very delightful, and I hope whatever conversation we had will help other people who are trying to make the transition.
Sure, I'm sure that is going to be the case. Thank you, Raghavan.
Yeah, thanks, Hemanand.
So, how did you like it? I thought there were a lot of useful insights from his success journey. Let me break it down for you. Number one, you don't have to spend crazy amount of money to become a data analyst. You can leverage the free resources from the internet. Number two, if you're not getting an interview call, then it means you're not standing out from the crowd. You have to do a little extra thing to stand out from the crowd, like having a good project portfolio resume. Number three, you need to have an optimized LinkedIn profile. Again, that is something to stand out from the crowd. Number four, if you don't clear the interview, that's okay. You can use that interview as a feedback loop to prepare well for the next interview. Number five, continuous learning is the only way to stay relevant in the industry. Number 6, having an ability to communicate things clearly is a very important skill. Build and work on it. So that's it, folks. I hope you find this this particular session very useful, and you will use the takeaways in your journey. And if you have any other takeaways that you find, please put it in the comment box. Let's others benefit from that. See you until the next video. Take care.